Hello everyone, and welcome to Canadians with Disabilities and their Allies. My name is Brent Frain, I'm the host, and today I am broadcasting live at Neil's home in Surrey here.
We're doing something a little bit different. We kind of had to Mickey Mouse the sound a little bit. You can see I'm not wearing a headset now, so my hair's all... But yeah, so if anybody's in chat now, they can tell us if the audio is okay. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. How you doing, MJ and Alun?
Hello.
Hello. Yes, that's
Okay.
This is our first show broadcasting live, in the same place.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
neat.
The audio appears to be coming through just fine.
Good.
Awesome.
Nice to hear. Yeah. So
It's great when technology works. Wonderful.
Good.
so well, I mean, I pulled rank a little bit, and I decided to do a show on cerebral palsy because I know all three of us, MJ and Ellen and myself, have cerebral palsy. So I thought it would be an interesting discussion.
I'm
And
not diagnosed.
I know we have different degrees of it too, so we can talk about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
It's very important to get the message out regarding the severities of cerebral palsy, and I mean how it affects each individual person is different than another person. And having you all kind of talk about how the condition affects you on a personal level in your life, it's I think very informative for others to maybe. That are listening, or maybe listening later on the podcast or watching live, and maybe the people can actually kind of maybe say, yeah, that's what I'm going through, or that's how it's affecting me, and sending your comments definitely under the comment section if you're watching live today. Love to hear it. Love to hear your comments. We'll start with you first, Ellen.
Well, all I know is the doctor told my folks I wouldn't make it past the age of 10, so
Yeah.
apparently people have medical certificates for reasons I don't know.
And,
But it definitely has it's made itself more obvious as I've gotten older.
Well, myself, MJ, and Brent, we're all from basically, I mean, Brent's in Victoria, but we're all basically Lower Mainland.
But I'm in Surrey today.
Yeah, and so we all should know about the Timmy's Christmas Telethon that they had it for years and years, and I went on for a few years there, and. It's interesting because I've talked to a friend of mine before about this. Is he was saying the reason they had the Timmy's Christmas Telethons and they had the kids on the show and stuff is because when you go back like 50 years, doctors seriously thought that all these kids with cerebral palsy and other different disabilities actually wouldn't live very long, so they thought, well, let's make sure that we treat them well and give them a few gifts before they die, kind of thing. And I mean that was a real thing, because and I've talked about before too, is like I never saw, and I guess it was because everybody was locked away, hidden away, in asylums and stuff. but I never saw anybody old with cerebral palsy. Like, and even like when I was out in like shopping malls and stuff like that, or going shopping, like I never really saw almost anybody with a disability other than myself. So, like, I actually grew up thinking like I'm not gonna grow old. I just assumed, right? Because I never saw anybody old with my condition.
Well, there's the people were just tucked away. That's the
Or
thing.
yeah, people were tucked away, but I mean I didn't know.
Well, that was the narrative, especially even through the 80s, was
yeah,
not seen, not heard.
yeah,
Keep stay in your own lane.
yeah,
You're not part of society, and it got to the point. I knew there was a kid in our school that, when I was in grade 6, that transferred, and he wasn't with us very long. Would have been 80, 88. No, I would have been in high school then. It was before that. 83, 84, when I was still like grade 6, grade 7. And he had Down syndrome, and he had it really bad. He had a few other, and the school actually pressured his family to take him out and put him into a closed environment type home where he was homeschooled. The teachers made a big fuss that they didn't have the time to do any one-on-one with him, and it would be an obstruction to the other students. And that was just the same old ableist, not in my backyard
yeah,
attitude mentality. And that really, I remember I was working in 96. I was a bit of a special case in the sense that I was earning what some of the staff were earning, even though I was a client at Mainstream. Most of them were making $1 an hour in some kind of workshop situation, whether it was working in the laundromat or working in the workshop or putting out resumes or whatever it was, working volunteer in the group homes or whatever. But it was that kind of gated community attitude where society just wanted for the people with disabilities to be with their own kind, and
yeah.
I'm not trying to sound ableist in my
No, that was
but
true though. That was what it was. Yeah.
yeah, it was. I was making 10 an hour. I was, because I drove. I had a car back then, and I had my license and so forth. So I was able to stay running the laundromat when most of the clients had to go home. There would be 2 or 3 people underneath me, because our laundromat, not only could people off the street just come in with their laundry, but we also ran a laundry service for the Summertown, Port Dalhousie. I mean, it runs all year round, but Port Dalhousie was at that time pretty much like Aspen, Colorado, and it had its busy months and its dead months, and the summer was when all the tourists would come, because a lot of people had sailboats and stuff. So I wasn't the client that made $1 an hour. So I had this weird, and I was on the board of directors for Mainstream itself, and we had like a couple attorneys, I think there was an accountant and a whole bunch of people from the community that were on this board, as well as some of the staff. So it was a unique situation to see it from both sides of the wine glass, inside and out.
I wanted
Plus,
to
I was
ask.
running the landscaping.
I wanted to ask MJ and yourself, Alun. Like for myself, I know like we talk about street smarts, right? And I always felt that when I was younger, like you really have to mature fast when you have a disability, right? And one of the things I learned fast is to use humor, because I knew like I transferred to a quote unquote normal school in grade 2. And that was kind of unheard of. I was like the first kid from GS Strong to do that. And, I came to the school and everyone was like, didn't know what to do with me. Like even the teachers didn't know what to do with me, right? And so you quickly learn to use humor and get people kind of on your side. And one of the things, one of the stories that I have, actually, it's kind of funny, is like we all remember Star Wars. When Star Wars came out. It was 1977, and
It's a great year.
and I put on a play with a couple of my friends. Like we did a play in front of the class, and I decided I was gonna be C-3PO, right? And the scene with the Ewoks, where the Ewoks come and they laser C-3PO and he falls backwards.
Yeah.
So I do that. I'm wrapped up in like this paper cylinder
Oh, nice.
with these cutout cellophane windows. So I actually do look like R2D2. I'm wrapped in this. I'm encased in this
That'd be something to
cardboard tubing, and then I get shot and I fall backwards, and you should have seen the teacher. She's like, oh, like this, like she just freaked out. And of course I was just having a blast, right? And all the kids were having a blast, but it was just kind of funny, right? What you kind of remember, but yeah.
Luke, I'm your father.
My grade 8 experience was that I was in a special class. I mean, I took the same courses that all the other students did, but we were like 30 in one class, and then the teacher would just come in and teach a different course or another subject. But we also ran the cafeteria. So that was kind of cool. And we got paid.
Oh.
And then we got to do a big vacation. But really, what it was the school going, we don't want these kids in the other classrooms interrupting the students. We're going to have too much trouble with the parents complaining. Right. And you, on one hand, you can understand it from a parent's point of view. On the other hand, you're going ableism 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
right?
Totally.
And when I went into high school, they tried it again, except that there were about 10 of us
Ableism running rampant.
around a table in a room off the library. And it was like, no, I didn't pick up too much flack in high school because in grade 8, at the end of grade 7, grade 8, I was doing judo. So by grade 9, I was on the wrestling team. And I nabbed that.
Don't mess with Ellen.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was like, here's the thing, because I knew I was going to a modified basic school. And I knew that intellectually I could do the classes in general level. But it was a trade school. Growing up in a blue-collar town, I wanted to be at the trade school. And I was causing so I was a troublemaker back then. But it was. Because I had this history class, and it was one of the classes where I wasn't in a group I was just thrown in with the other students. And this guy was teaching about World War II and what Hitler did and stuff. And I'll shoot my hand. Actually, that's incorrect. my dad was a war historian, and some of the professors that were close friends of my dad's that taught history and English and whatever at the college were, because there were conversations going around in the household where I knew a lot of the history. So, like, for example, when the brown shirts won the first battle, Hitler threw a big party for them, and the SS came in and slaughtered them all. And the teacher was so far off, the brown shirts won, and then they went to battle, and then Hitler felt he needed a stronger army. I'm like, nope, sorry. You might want to go back to the library. I think it's on the first floor. So I was a smart ass, and I was bored intellectually. Like the modified
Yeah.
basics curriculum
what I
bored the hell out of me.
Yeah. Yeah, go
if
ahead,
I could,
MJ.
yeah,
Jump in.
what I did, I didn't, I went with intelligence, and I became smarter than my teachers. Like,
Yeah.
right. So it was like, grade 7, grade 8, was when we first started getting like DOS and what was it, MS Works. I don't know if you guys remember
Yeah.
that,
Yep.
right? And then they were teaching us all how to use it. Well, in DOS and all the rest of the stuff. So I actually read the DOS manual, DOS 3.3. I read it cover to cover.
Yep.
I think me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I read the MS Works manual. So it was like, what happened was I knew more than the teacher. So people were asking me for help, and the teacher was like, "That's my job." I said to him, "Then take a course."
Yeah.
I said to him, "There's a guy that has a course that he's doing at night for it's part of the Elder College, and he's teaching this stuff that I know how to do right now.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do it, I encourage you to pay for the course. The man knows his stuff. Please pay him. He's worth his while. So pay for the course and learn how to do it, and then be able to help the students. But in the meantime, I will show you how it's done, so you can go and help people along the way too. I wasn't trying to be, I wasn't trying to be, an ignorant person. I was like, look, the kids are coming to me, and it's like, and I can't get my schoolwork done. So either I get help, get listed quote as a teacher's assistant and get marks for this, or you come up with some way to go and help me out so I can get my work done by you learning how to do this.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it was
I
like
agree.
the teachers are, it's like when I was smarter than the teachers, I had, computer teachers didn't know anything about computers. I knew more than them, and I always knew more than them. And when I knew more, I wasn't an ignorant person about it. I always wanted to share my knowledge, right? Because, that way you don't have to come and ask me again. And I would show this other students. So then all of a sudden I would have the other students helping other students. So I could actually go back to doing my schoolwork. And then the teacher would go and start learning how all this stuff was done. So we, could do this. So I always used knowledge as my base of power.
Yeah.
Because
me too.
I felt that knowledge, if I can use my base of knowledge and use it in a superior method to go and, learn and teach. I had a few students try to use that knowledge against me, and I almost got suspended because they decided they wanted to go and format a bunch of the hard drives on the computers because they didn't lock them down. So, I had to go, I'm sitting here in the principal's office, I'm looking at the teacher, and I'm sitting here going, why in the, and I just was explicit, why in the F would I quite literally go and F with my teacher and the school to cost us money?
Right.
Why would I do that?
Well,
I can tell you who did it. I can tell you which 3 students know exactly how to do this stuff, and you can talk to them. They're going to deny it, but I tell you right now, their fingerprints are all over it. That's it. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to stay after school to help the teacher to go and get these computers operational again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I love the fact that we all read the MS DOS cover to cover.
Yeah.
It was so interesting, actually.
So I always used intelligence. In humor, I never really, I understood humor and I got humor and I understood the sarcasm, but I never really used it because I always felt that imparting knowledge was more powerful. And I always felt that way, that if you can go and teach someone, then it's a good deed. And I've always people go, well, what do I owe you? What do I have to pay? I said, nothing. I said, do you know what you can do? Teach someone else.
Yeah.
Teach
pass it
someone
on,
else.
yeah.
Then you've
Pass on
paid
the
me
knowledge.
back, right? Then
Yeah.
you've paid me back.
Yeah.
So that's how I love to do things in school. I never, and there's another thing is, I don't have cerebral palsy. I do have massive amounts of herniated discs in my neck and back.
Oh, I was thinking you had cerebral palsy. I don't know why I thought that. I thought you did.
No, I do have herniated discs, and I got to tell you, the pain is quite bad. I actually don't sleep with a pillow because of my neck, right? And you know, and a lot of people think that sleeping with a pillow for when you actually have back problems, and cerebral palsy is a spinal issue, right? So
It's
sleeping
also
with a pillow,
oxygen to the brain.
right?
It's lack of oxygen to the brain during the
Yeah,
birth.
anoxia.
Right. I
It's
have
called.
sleep apnea, is
Oh,
what I
okay.
have as well. So I have to wear a
Okay.
CPAP machine. So I don't sleep with a pillow because of my neck. And I find I have a much better sleep without it. Quite
Okay.
literally. I mean, and a memory foam mattress to boot. So
Well, it gives
Yeah.
you that extra comfort, right? And it for your neck,
yeah,
like
I
it
have one
gives
of
you
those
yeah.
that
memory
cushion,
foam pillows that's contoured, but
eases the pain.
I have two of them.
I found that the my memory foam pillows did not particularly work.
Oh,
It actually made things worse for me
oh,
because of the herniated discs. Like they're like literally like right up and down like my neck, my entire neck, right up to the base of my skull. You know,
You get do you get any vertigo from that? I'm kind of
no,
curious because
no.
um, I thought my vertigo started um, back in July when they flushed my ear out. I thought, okay, well the water pressure has bruised the ear canal, and that's why I'm getting dizzy.
oh,
But it turns out it's a vertebrae in my neck that got damaged when I fell on the ice.
oh,
Okay,
Um,
yes.
that
so
it was an
It
injury I
can do
got
that. Yes.
because I was beat
okay,
up in 2004 when they stomped on me, and it's kind of like a heal. But then when I fell on the ice in Niagara, I must have because I landed literally flat, like
Well,
back,
it's like
right?
right, like yeah, like
And I
right
had a
down my neck
backpack,
skull.
but so I was curious if you, because if I turn my head right really quickly, the vertigo hits me like an ocean tsunami.
Oh,
Like,
jeez.
well, that's
Well,
what I
if I,
noticed when I turned 49. Is I never had a problem with my. I mean, of course, balance isn't always an issue when you have cerebral palsy, and I had crutches my whole life, but overall, like as long as I had crutches, I felt balanced. But when I turned 49, all of a sudden, my cerebellum in my head just kind of felt like it turned off,
No.
and my balance center was just completely gone. And like so, especially like when I was pitching forward to go down a hill or like down some stairs, like it just felt like my whole cerebellum balance just out the window,
Completely
right?
off whack.
And that was the first time, and then I realized, okay, shit, I'm, you know, I can no longer, I have to be really careful with my crutches, and you know, but I kind of ignored it. Like I basically ignored it for 4 or 5 years, and then of course I had the bad fall because I was ignoring it, you know. And so it goes to show that you really shouldn't ignore what your body's telling you. Like, hey, yeah.
well, well, I mean, I mean, you know, I do have, you know, balance issues from time to time. Depends on how my, you know, if one of my vertebrae is pinched wrong or whatever, and you know, but I have learned how to fall, right?
Me too.
Right.
Yeah.
It was one of the things I learned in school because I actually had one of my PE teachers was a former military guy, so he taught us how to properly fall. You know, so I learned how to fall, you know, 5 or 6 different ways, and
we learned that in wrestling too,
yeah,
especially when we were doing judo. And my judo was okay. So my judo instructor was forced to start teaching judo because nobody was signing up for his Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It just wasn't a thing back then. And like you're talking early 80s, it was one of those martial arts that just never. It's like Taekwondo was not popular. I remember a bunch of dojos opening, trying to expand on different martial arts. And one guy in Fonthill opened a Taekwondo, tried Aikido, and they just all flopped. Like they closed within months of being open, and they were beautiful inside. Like whoever was funding them, or however they had money, they had all the mats and everything. You know, they had the like one guy tried to open a Japanese kickboxing uh, club in in St. Catharines, and it just sank like it was
well,
boarded. It was done within months. But I took jiu-jitsu, and then he was like, "Okay, well, I can't teach you jujitsu one-on-one directly, and then I have to teach judo. But if you want to come in an hour, half an hour before, I would do half an hour jujitsu. But once my students are here, I have to do judo because it's part of my
Mm-hmm.
contract. It is a judo dojo.
Right.
I if
And,
so, if the
now,
health
do you
inspector came
find
in,
though that
because the health
doing that
inspectors would show
would
up all the time because they didn't understand what it was. So if they saw what they would suspect is a possible lawsuit, they would close the place down.
Hmm.
So he was teaching me jiu-jitsu on the fly. So when I went into wrestling in high school, I was able to slip all kinds of Brazilian jiu-jitsu submissions and a lot of them were takedowns. Right? Like
Nice.
so I knew how to fall all the time. Like, and I was a really active swimmer. So at Brock University, I was going off the high jump dive board, and we had the Tarzan rope at one of the dive board platforms. So I was a complete lunatic as a student. Like, and I was by the time I was 16, I was riding dirt bikes and all this. Like anybody saw me like at the fair riding dirt bikes or BMX is like, there's no way this guy's disabled.
hmm
Like,
But do you find that with that kind of activity that it helps your balance though? And I guess the same kind of
um,
question will
I
go over to MJ with like positioning like the pillows and stuff like to kind of relieve the pressure like
Well,
I'll kind of turn it over to you in a minute, MJ, regarding that, like for like to reduce down pressure off your spine, like for your the pain, like the severities and stuff, like kind of moving around and like I know like I for me like I'll just briefly say something and then I'll pass it over to you, Alan, and then over to MJ. But for me, like I had gone through chiropractic treatment, physiotherapy, and I couldn't like it first time in my life I had injured myself, but I kept pushing myself because I figured out it's nothing, and I got in supreme supreme hell from WCB because I kept going, knowing that I had hurt myself. And I had to kind of fight with them a bit because it was under the WCB Act. Like, you deliberately did something to yourself and you kept going, and meanwhile, but it was to do with the company, but they didn't realize until after. But anyway, long story short is that I had hurt myself to a degree that I had, and I learned a lot about this with your spine, how it works. There was four, but then there was actually five, which they discovered that were completely messed up pretty bad. I couldn't even, it got to a point where I couldn't even move my leg. It was numb. My arm was numb. I thought, oh my god! Like I got out of bed, I literally fell out of bed, and in pain, like excruciating pain. So over to you, Alan, regarding like movement of different activities of, you mentioned
well,
jitsu and stuff,
I
and
was doing
biking.
like I did really well in grade 8 when we used to do the when the Olympics. Remember when high schools used to have the
Oh,
Olympics
the sports
before
days.
anybody
Oh
got
yeah, love those.
lawsuits.
Was it
But
sports days and stuff?
I do like long john. I did high jump,
Yep.
and the funny thing was when we had a sailboat when I was a teenager, right up to the 90s or to 2000s,
Mm.
and when I was about 15, my dad um, hoisted me up the mast with a harness and everything because my mom didn't want to do it anymore. And we had we had debated putting these steps that you can screw to your mast so you can
Mm.
just climb up like a ladder. But it was really expensive to convert an old mast that
Oh
hadn't
yeah,
had it in it because
I can
you
imagine.
can't do it with any of the rigging line. And the mast has to be stripped, and they have to be special bolts because they're holding people's weight. So
Yeah.
there I am getting the horn pulled up the mast using the rigging um, with a winch and everything on the cockpit. And we were at my dad's dock, and there was no wind, nothing. It was cool, calm as shit. Like it was unbelievable. There wasn't even a ripple in the marina. And I'm up there, and I change the light bulb, and
Hmm.
I give them this. I pull on the thing to say I've done it right, like on the harness, so that they feel tension down.
Oh.
They can't see anything I'm doing up there, right? I'm 40 feet off the deck. Well, My dad was about 170 pounds, 160 pounds, and he steps off the sailboat onto the floating dock.
Oh.
And being a big guy, fairly big guy, short, stocky guy, all of a sudden the mast is swinging left to right, left port starboard part,
Uh-oh.
and I'm up the mast.
Oh,
And
no.
after that, I could not do the high jump. I was
I could just
completely
imagine.
like screwed. And you're talking to someone that would do the high jump and land on his back on the mat without any thought. I was just like,
Yeah.
like I would jump my dirt bike over a 10-foot pile of dirt.
Yeah, it's
Like I jumped half a house subdivision that had concrete laid in on my dirt bike
wow.
at 110 kilometers or whatever. I was maxed out. Like I literally launched the bike over this
Just imagine
subdivision
Alan
house.
just jump going over.
Evil Knievel, right? No fear.
jump
I
the
thought
shark.
I thought
Can you do that one again,
I legit
Alan?
thought it was Teflon. But the takeaway is I had this no fear of anything at that point. But once I had to come down from that mast, I couldn't go. Like, even when I lived in Toronto, we lived on the 17th floor. I was terrified to go on my balcony. Terrified. Like, and my son's like climbing up on a chair and looking over. Look at how far. I'm like, ah!
Look at him go! Look at him go!
Oh,
I'm gonna, Alan. I'm
the
gonna turn the
thing
mic
kids
over
do.
to MJ on just on the topic regarding what we were just talking about pain management. Yeah. Now I'll come back to you in a little bit.
Well, I don't sleep with any pillows. Okay, I sleep flat on my memory foam mattress because it does all the curvages that I need to go, for my neck, and it works perfectly. And I find that I have a lot better sleep, and I don't, I used to wake up with massive migraine headaches to the point where, my migraine headaches were like I would have to just hide under a blanket. I couldn't have any sound. I'd be popping ibuprofen. I'd be throwing icy hot on my neck and my head and my skull and my back, and I'd use deep ice heat spray. Like I was just like trying to just ease the pain.
Yeah.
It's people. It's like, well, why don't you just go and get some hard drugs? Well, I can't. I can't use any hard drugs because I have a past addiction. And because of that, I keep absolute and complete control of every type of drug I use. I don't, because I know that addictive personality is there. So in order to keep control, I anytime I go and see a doctor and they say, well, what about this drug? And I said, doc, I've already told you about this. Or if I'm in the ER, I inform them about this past addiction. I tell them I cannot use these types of drugs, period. I mean, this will spiral me right down the drain, So, I mean, this is, when you have herniated discs, a lot of people don't think, that, I got my herniated disc from a car accident. Is that what happened? My father was deciding he wanted to go and chase my uncle who had the first RX-7 in British Columbia back in the 80s. And my father decided on with bald tires, of all things, and an RX-4 Mazda rotary to go and try to chase him down.
I'm aware of them.
Right? To go and chase him down, and one of the tires blew. We spun this way, we spun that way, we spun around, and then we went off the road, and somewhere between in the Lower Mainland, before they filled in all the marshes and everything like that, we uprooted one of a boulder that's about, I don't know, from floor to ceiling at your place there, Neil, and we bounced off of that and uprooted that and then landed in the swamp. And what the problem was, this car had a problem with seatbelts. They didn't work properly all the time.
And they were probably lap belts too, because I had a little Italian sports car with lap belts.
If I may, and the seatbelts sometimes worked, right? And they all of a sudden they worked for my brother, they worked for my other brother, they worked for my dad, but mine wouldn't work. And I went between the center one to try to get locked in. I went to the side one to get locked in, and I was holding on to two, pardon my French, the two holy shit handles in the center,
Yeah.
bouncing off the roof and bouncing and slamming around. But I was holding on for dear life until I could go and get. I was able to get centered into one section. I grabbed the seatbelt and I was like twisting it around myself and the locking mechanism to try to tie myself in.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like
So you went
8
fly
years
around
old.
everywhere.
Right. And I'm 8 years old and I'm like going, giving everything I got.
It's like a scene from a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, a horror movie.
Or
Yeah.
even worse than one of those P&E rides, I tell you.
So I mean, needless to say, the bouncing off that boulder, then landing, it's like, so I complained at the hospital. They did an X-ray. They said, "Oh, you're fine." And I said, "I have excruciating pain in my neck and my back and my lower back and my center back. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I need a better scan." They're like, "Well, this is all we got." It's like, "Well, find me somewhere that can go," and they didn't. So, needless to say, I've been dealing with this since I've been about 6, 7, 8 years old, and the pain comes and goes. Sometimes it gets worse,
Yeah.
and I mean, so when it comes to all of this, I mean, people think that our healthcare system is great in Canada. I'm sorry, it's not.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's a horrible system. It barely works, and even at the time, I know they did have MRI machines back in the 80s, and they did have
Yeah.
CAT scan machines back in the 80s, and they didn't do that on me, and they would have found that my back was screwed, right, because of that. And I mean, I've finally got a CT scan several years back, was officially diagnosed with massive amounts of herniated discs. The medical system has told me, "We'll fuse all of your vertebrae for you. You won't be able to turn right or left. You won't be able to do much of anything, but you won't have any more pain." And I was like, you know what? That's BS.
Yeah.
Because there's a $500,000 surgery in the United States that could go and fix all of this, right? 500,000. But our government will not go and pay to go and help somebody become productive in society,
Yeah.
right? So
Everything's got a price tag now.
So if you're just no longer, if you're not viable, we'll just throw you over here. We'll put you on disability, and if it kills you, it kills you. And that's really what our system has come to, and that's the sad state of affairs.
That's why MAiD is a thing now, is because
is.
everything's got a dollar sign attached to it. And if your dollar sign is too big, they're like, "Well, we'll offer you a MAiD instead."
Yeah. But,
No,
exactly.
because they know they're gonna make a profit off your organs. It's
the thing is, though,
status.
that basically the government basically says, well, we can't afford right now to provide an extra service because it'll actually delay the other service where people are suffering in legislated poverty, as we know. I mean, so you provide the income, you provide the services, medical service. I mean, to help better a person's well-being or stabilize it anyway, so that because as we get older, I mean, we get more disabilities. I mean, they don't go away. I mean, they can be undiagnosed disabilities, but we still get them. But so why? I mean, I don't understand why the governments like to promote MAiD, where rather than giving people the help that they need, so they can have a more dignified life. I mean,
well, because it's easier to just get rid of the problem than it is to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right. And that's in a way, that's how they look at this for people that are disabled or that have disabilities that could otherwise be cured in other medical systems around the world. It's the same as cancer. It's like we have, the cancer, the quality of cancer care in Canada is absolutely pathetic. But if you go to your EU, they'll go and do a biopsy. They'll take a part of that cancer out, and they'll go and screen to figure out which cancer medication is the best one to use. Here, they just use the generalized cancer thing and go, "Oh, it didn't work. Oh, well."
Yeah. Oh, this one works good for you. Here, take this one. Oh, sorry
And
about that.
then when he
effective.
passed away, the family gets calls, solicitation calls from the Cancer Association wanting money donations. It's disgusting.
Well, Alan, it's the waiting list too. Out in British Columbia, the waiting list to go in to clinics right now. It's crazy. They're people are having to go into the USA, of getting sent down.
Well, that's what my dad did.
Yeah.
He remortgaged his condo so he could get American help, American stuff for his chemo. It's why he kicked it the first time. The only reason he came back and he fell out of remission was that he thought, well, I'm out of the woods, I'll switch back to Canadian because we're traveling so often. That they didn't stay on top of it. And had they done the operation 3 months, 4 months before they actually did, which would have given him another 20 years likely, they just goofed around. And had he realized that there was some cancer in him 3 months before he actually did, he would have gone back to the States. He said, my biggest mistake was not to go back to the U.S. The second time, because the operation was supposed to cut away about part of the kidney, which grows back. I think, is it the kidney or the liver? It's one of those.
I think they both do.
But one organ will grow back, and the plan was to cut the back part away. But when they went in to do the surgery, they just found he was riddled with cancer cells, and they couldn't do it. There was no point. But it was the failure of the Canadian cancer health system that got him the second time.
That goes to show how bad our system actually is, and that's why a UABI would definitely help so many, people in this country. The UABI. Like as you mentioned, MJ, like it's amazing on how that would actually work well for people.
Well, a lot of people don't realize is with what I'm proposing in this idea, and it's in contrast to what UBI Works is offering. I've read the ideas that they offer, and I'm not going to go and disparage what they're offering. They have a different idea.
Right.
And their idea is different, fine. They can go and propose that. But mine is a take it or leave it idea of saying, here's the money, take it or leave it. Use it how you want, and if you need to go and take your, save up money to go to America to go and get surgery, or to go to Europe to go and get better cancer care, by all means.
Go to Mexico for dental.
Or to go to Mexico to get some dental care done. Exactly. Yeah. The idea here is giving people portability and ability to go make decisions best for them. Yeah. And the truth is the other thing is by giving people more money, you would find the less people would be buying this processed garbage of food.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, my belief is that if you could afford to go and buy, that bag of bananas that's sitting here at no frills that they're going to go and get rid of, but you can put it in your air dryer and dry them, and now you've got a snack for later on, that's great. But a lot of people, it's like, I can't afford an air dryer, right?
Yeah.
But with UABI, it gives you options. It gives you ability to go and buy better food quality.
An air fryer.
Well, exactly.
An air fryer.
Well, I always find that our medical system is so reactive, though, too. It's like, it's like they wait till there's a problem, and then it's like, oh shit, now right. we have somebody in the hospital, whereas you could just give somebody a bit more money to keep them out of the hospital.
Preventable, and
exactly.
Activate now, the system. It's like we got a state of emergency.
With a better quality food source and better quality food. And I believe that we should be going to European standards for food, because they don't allow yellow dye number 5 and red number 3 and all the rest of this garbage in their food, and they don't allow high fructose corn syrup and all the rest of this stuff. They actually require you to use actual sugar or not, right? There's like aspartame, things like this.
Speaking of sugar,
oh yeah, look at this.
We have to try these later.
Oh yeah.
So the idea of what I'm talking about for UABI will definitely benefit everybody across the board. And for people with cerebral palsy like yourself, Neil, it's like, oh, we'll pay for half a wheelchair. If you had $4,000
front or back,
just the wheels.
Okay. We're right on the wheels.
Right, just the wheels and the spoke. You're not getting the seat. You'd be
Yeah.
able to go and say,
Imagine-
you know what? Thank you very much. I'll go and pay for the wheelchair that I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I can afford to go and save up $500 for the next 6 months. I'm going to get the wheelchair.
Well, that's
I'm going to get
autonomy
some
again.
luxury, right? I'm going to get the luxury wheelchair that can help me buzz around to my convenience,
Yeah.
right? You know, or I need new glasses, or I need to get my teeth done. I need to go.
And that's
hearing
why.
aids.
That's why this wheelchair I'm sitting in it right now for an extra
Yeah.
seat, and that's why I've never. This wheelchair is the first thing that I've actually asked the government to pay for. I've always paid for all of my scooters and stuff,
Yeah.
precisely because of that reason. Because I want to buy what I want to buy. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to like be cheap
Well-
and say, well, let's
You know-
buy something that's going to break
Well-
in like a year or two.
Yeah.
You want the
Totally.
Ford Mustang, not the Pinto.
Well, I mean, it's like when I went and got my CPAP machine, they gave me the basic CPAP machine,
Oh.
and the basic one, and I couldn't get a good sleep.
No.
So I was like, okay, well, let's see. I've got this amount on my credit card. I can't afford it, whatever. So I went and bought an APAP, which I've had for about 5 years, which has worked great. And I found that I've had a much better sleep because an APAP is adaptive to, because you don't sleep the same every night.
No.
Sometimes you have a heavier sleep, sometimes you have a lighter sleep. Well, an APAP adjusts the pressure levels to what you actually need, right? So, I mean, and this is where my idea of UABI gives people that flexibility of saying, I'm going to buy the equipment that I want that works best for me.
Well,
And-
I mean, MJ, like my belief is always like, and I agree with you on this. It's the government invests more money right up front and saying, okay, this is what you want. You buy what you want and make it last. Make it last as long as you can make that product last. I mean, as we know, some products are just made, unfortunately, not to last. But I mean, I always believed this even when I was a kid. I would actually save up money from paper route, right? I'd go and try to cut my lawn, and of course, going all flared up with allergies. And my mom's like, "You're a mess. You just go inside, Brent." My brother would get mad. He'd come up, "Oh, you little baby, was there go?" So he'd go and cut the lawn, right? But anyway, like I would do that, but I'd go and cut other people's lawns next door and down around the neighborhood to collect money to go and buy the better bike. The better mountain bike that I could get. Why? I mean, I could have got one for like $200, but I knew by putting like a paper route, by putting a heavy basket on it, it was going to break down, like it was going to wear it out. And so I asked the paper company, and I worked for Pacific Press way back, right? The Province and the Vancouver Sun. I delivered it, and I got their advice even when I was a kid. I was like, well, I don't know, and like invest money, like put more money into it because it's going to last you even when you quit your paper route. You can still now use it for grocery shopping, and I did it multi-purpose. I spent
I
almost
would like to see.
$500
I'd like.
back then. That was a lot of money.
Well, see, one of the problems I have in British Columbia, sorry, Alun, I just want to say this.
Yeah,
One of the
go
problems
ahead.
that we have here is we have gatekeepers in our system, right? For those of us that are on disability and welfare. So what they do is we're actually covered by Blue Cross. I don't know if you know that. We're
Yeah, you
actually
mentioned that in a previous podcast, actually.
and I got told this by a worker that worked at the government that actually told me this. And I said, well, then what's your job there for? You're just a gatekeeper. What's the point of your job then? Right? So this is my thing is I want to, when I hear Pierre Poilievre say, let's remove the gatekeepers. Well, you know what? That's what I'm talking about with gatekeepers is getting rid of people that sit there and say, no, we're going to go and get you the cheapest CPAP machine, even though that the better one is only like $300-400 more, right? Like the one that the doctors actually recommended was the one I paid for myself, right?
And we should mention too, like I call it the crypt tax. The crypt tax is a very real thing. I always jokingly say it's like double it and add a zero, right?
Yeah.
But like for example, this wheelchair. I mean, it's a nice chair. Don't get me wrong, but I think the whole thing cost. I think it was $3,200.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't see $3,200 on this chair.
Ironic, isn't
No.
it?
And
No.
like I had to pay like I said half of it. I had to pay like $1,500 of it.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, okay, get this. To go and get a CPAP machine for one of these companies that's around, They want $2,500, right?
Yeah.
Because, quote, that includes their maintenance fee and blah, 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 and paying for staff. Well, I paid $600 for mine out of the and I got it out of the States, brand new,
Right.
because I couldn't, get it anywhere in Canada, because in Canada they figure, oh, you got to have a prescription from your doctor, blah, blah, blah. But it's like your doctor won't give you a prescription, because then you have to go to the specialist, then you have to deal with all of that nonsense. And the specialist says, oh, you already have one, you don't need a new one. And it's like they play these games,
Oh man,
right?
yeah, I've gone through
They
that.
play these games, and it's just, to me, this is where,
You don't really need a CPAP machine. You
Well,
don't
actually,
really
I-
need it.
I do need the CPAP machine,
Jeez.
other, because
think
I
you
have
need it.
extreme sleep apnea,
Yeah.
I'm
Right,
being
so-
sarcastic though.
right, but
yeah.
but the way they play this, so my idea with universally available basic income is you'd be able to go and purchase the health insurance that you want to pay for yourself. You wouldn't need to go and ask permission. You'd present your Manulife, your Blue Cross, or whichever company you want to deal with. You present your card and say, bada bing, bada boom, here we go. And they go 80%, 80%, right? And that's how easy it should be. It shouldn't be a gong show to go and get healthcare services as a disabled person, but they make it that way.
Oh, I remember a time when I had to get a CCTV, and I was like, oh well, we just get the cheaper model. Well, the cheaper model, it was not good because it wasn't actually big enough, and it was just it was a very very basic model, and I knew it was going to break down. Like it just the functionality of it just wasn't superior. And so I had to argue with the government on it, and I said, if you invest and you give me better, it's going to last me longer. Well, it only works if you're in college. We're not going to give it to you for home use. And I said,
Oh, wow.
so how is that going to make any difference? I need to do my studies. I need to do like home projects at home. I can't spend time with public transit because it's not going to get me back and home in time. So if I had it at home, now I can actually spend that time. And so I had to argue, and finally they wouldn't do it. And so, again, I told the story in one of our podcasts. I reached out to VRS. And VRS said, no problem.
Yeah.
You want it for home? Yeah, we'll get it. They had to kind of do a little bit of tweaking here and there, but they got it for me. And it was, the value of it was like over $4,000 more. Like these machines were not cheap. And I used it for everyday, like even after college, I used it for everyday life things. And over time, it did, it had its time. But yeah, I mean, that goes to show investing cheaper is not always better. Investing more up front is going to last you for years.
And not only that, but I mean, I've mentioned too things like massage.
Oh yeah.
If you have cerebral palsy, and other conditions too, but for my cerebral palsy, like regular massage is great. Like it helps me so much because like. There's something called muscle tone, and when you have cerebral palsy, if you have it bad, like me, or relatively bad, like your muscle tone, like I just don't relax, and so the only time my body can relax is when I have massage. But of course, massage is like super expensive.
Oh yeah.
And it would be nice if the government would realize, hey, if somebody has cerebral palsy and massage helps them, let's cover more massages.
Exactly.
Right?
It's not difficult to do
exactly. That's where I come up with
Policy
this
choice.
idea. With this
Punitive
is
healthcare.
it's punitive healthcare. That's what we really do have.
Maybe
And
we should try to get Adrian Dix on the show.
Yeah.
I'd have to be very nice that day.
Aw.
Because,
Sonya's been bugging me to try and get Adrian on the show because she wants to talk
Saying
about
fuck
diabetes
you,
stuff.
pardon,
Yeah.
without saying fuck you.
But I mean, that'd be
Well,
something to bring up the topic. Though,
see,
for sure.
see the problem we have here is the way our system is set up from the governing point of view is they always say that healthcare is a provincial
130.
1-3. Okay.
provincial issue, but it also can be a federal issue at the same time because there's two sections of the Constitution that go and allow for healthcare to be dealt with at a federal level if and there's called quarantine marine hospitals under Section 9111, and Section 92. 7, which is the provincial healthcare, goes and says you're responsible for all of this except for marine hospitals. So the federal government could step in if push comes to shove to deal with the healthcare issues that the provinces are not solving. So
well,
I mean,
it's like MJ. It's like the transfer fees that the federal government, says that we're giving X amount of dollars to the provinces, and now it sounds like they're really cracking down on the provinces of saying, okay, well we're gonna give you the money, but we want to know where is it going? Like where is that accountability of saying, okay, so are you actually putting it into the healthcare, or are you now putting some of it into slush fund, or you know what I mean?
Well,
yeah.
Right. I mean, I was noticing you were looking at the clock. I mean,
No, I just asked Brent, and he says 1:30, so we're good for a while.
okay,
maybe,
so another 15 minutes.
Yeah, maybe in about 15 minutes we'll start doing our, our kind of end comments, and if we end a few minutes before 1:30, then,
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah, because we don't want to have to worry about flying Brent.
You want to make sure you make your ferry.
Yeah, I would say actually, you know what? Maybe we should just maybe say quarter after, just that way we're not really cutting it too close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So actually, we could probably do our end comments now, like just slowly take our time, and so we're actually done by quarter after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be better.
Okay.
Sonia, I can hear her music in the background. She's got little her earbuds on. She listens to some good music.
Maybe it's Michael Bublé.
Hey, Michael Bublé. Twas
One
the
of the
night
things that-
before Christmas.
If anybody missed our previous podcast, go back and watch it. We sing Michael Bublé.
Yeah, and there's gonna be another segment coming out. Everyone, Neil's actually working on it.
I'm working on it right now.
He's working on it. I gave him 143 clips, video clips and photos. He's got to go through it. Our friend John dropped us off, and there was a little clip in there, and of course Neil knows now. Oh no, John's like, you did not put that clip in there. I go, no, I did. I just grabbed the whole folder and I just said upload.
Yeah.
So he's got to take a little clip out of there, but I'm not going to say what. But it was funny. It was actually really funny.
It was funny, but I would get a strike.
He would get a
strike if I included that clip.
So we're not going to do that. No.
So one of the things, I've when it comes to the healthcare of many different types of disabilities, with, like, for example, cerebral palsy, herniated discs, and other people that are even further disabled than us, the system even makes it even harder for them, right? And it makes it difficult for them as well, and it shouldn't be that way.
I think, sadly, honestly, they've removed us from the physical institutions, but they've created a social institution. They've just removed the physical aspect of the institution. Although people with disabilities can live out in the community, and not without choosing rent over food, or vice versa. But one thing I really want to see from ABI is an option where, okay, let's say it's $3,000 a month, whether you want to take it or not. But you can choose to bank 500 that you don't need. You can say, I want 75% of the UBI to go into my bank. I want 25% of it to go into into kind of a slush fund that I can access if July is rougher than June. Or if I know, hey, even though I'm disabled, I can still drive a car, but my Honda now has 350,000 kilometers on it, and I think maybe I got another 2 years of solid driving before it ends up in the boneyard. So I can say, I'm not, even though I could use that 500, I'm gonna bank it until I hit $6,000. Right? And we know with CERB that even if you put 500 a month aside in the time frame that CERB was up and running, and I'm not even talking about CRB, the second version of it, that $500 piles up pretty quick. If you're not touching it,
Alan,
if you're not touching that like I got CERB, and yes, I paid through it with ODSP because I'm getting clawed back out behind.
Clawback.
Um,
Love those clawbacks.
Yeah.
but
Wow.
I
Purple.
I paid for a lot of camera gear from CERB.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny it.
Well,
Yeah.
and this is the
What I
thing:
would
is
like
there
to
would
see,
be no clawbacks with this.
Yeah,
My
Yeah.
idea.
exactly.
well, what
Right.
Clawback should
my
never exist in
my
Canada.
closing takeaway is I would like to see a UBI where a person's out says I'm eligible for $3,000 a month, but I can choose to put 2,500 of it directly streaming into my bank,
You could use it for
where I
whatever you
can
need to use it for.
I can bank that extra 500.
Right. Right. You
And
can
I
maybe go
know,
buy a
I
little
know I can dip,
Tesla there.
I know I
Alan.
can dip into. It's like saying,
Mhm.
or if you didn't have that option, it's just if you knew a loved one or whatever, you could put $500 in their bank, like a family member or something, or
Yeah, help
or
out
you
with a
could
family
set
member
up.
or something. Yeah.
But if it would be nice if you could set it up in your profile, your CRA profile, where
Well,
the
maybe
bank.
MJ can maybe answer that one. I
Okay.
mean, it's
Well,
it's like sky's the limit, right? I mean, you could use it for whatever you need it for.
well, the idea with what I'm proposing is you can go and say, I only want to take 1,000, or I could take up to 4,000. Right? You'll have the option of $1,000 or $500 increments. It could be. We I haven't figured out all the minutia of details, but there's a lot of changes. So it's like you can see. The thing is what a lot of people don't understand is that for a lot of people that are disabled or their elderly parents, like you're paying for if you have elderly parents, you end up having to take out of your own money to help your elderly parent out
Right.
in many cases. So this will help your elderly parent out, so they will have the money to be able to go and afford the living that they need, the health care that they need, so they don't have to choose, well, do I have to go and get these pills, my heart medication, or do I need to go and get this other medication? Do I have to make a decision? No, this is where the ideas that I'm proposing, would be a very large wholesale change of how things would be done within the system. Now, I mean, unfortunately, as a result of what I propose, there will be a lot of jobs that will be lost that are in the government, and unfortunately, it's just going to be the way it is.
So
It's like, so I mean,
No more gatekeepers. Oh
No more
no.
well,
Please.
we can go into the whole details at a later program.
yeah, no,
about
that'd be
how
great. We'll dive into that another show.
of
on
how
that
far of how many different organizations
Looking
of
forward
the
to that
governments
one.
would disappear, because I've calculated about half a dozen so far.
Oh, I'm
And
looking forward to that segment. Yeah, we'll dive into that. 'Cause, yeah, it's
so,
uh,
I mean, the idea, what with all of this, providing better healthcare, it's like having to choose whether or not, I need a massage, or I need to buy groceries. Because my cerebral palsy is getting bad, or my herniated discs are getting bad. No, you have all these choices to be able to say, I'm going to just go and pay the $100 or whatever, or we'd have a group healthcare insurance option, right? So you'd have the group healthcare insurance where people in the province would sign on to it, or Canada-wide, which would lower the cost all the way down even further. So we'd actually see people be able to pay for get these services that they need.
gosh, wouldn't that would make a lot of sense. Wow, I mean,
You
the
know, I
concept
mean-
of it. I mean,
I mean, I'm not, I'm not against, all these people that want jobs that are working in the government. But when I look at this, I mean, I'm kind of looking at it from like Elon Musk's point of view. Is he got rid of 75% of the employees and things are working fine, right? And but what I want to get rid of is people that we redundantly won't need after a period of time, because there'll be things that'll be changed in different laws. But that's a whole different program.
yeah.
A whole different program. So let's go over to Neil and Brent here. So in the last 5 minutes to give it to you guys.
All right, thanks, MJ, and I look forward to one of the segments that we'll be doing in the new year. We'll be talking a lot more, diving into about UABI, and explaining to people again. I mean, as a fresh new start of the year, and kind of really taking a lot of time and like really focusing on that, and driving home. I mean, the importance of giving people that option, and I'm not going to give it all the secrets away on it, but what it's all about, because that's kind of what you'll be talking about. But people that are interested, going, what is UABI? Well, stay tuned on that because MJ is going to
Here,
be
I'll
diving
just
into
turn.
it. And
There
in
we
the new
go.
year.
It's universally available basic income.
There
You
you
have
go.
the choice to take it or not.
Exactly, and that is something that we're going to be one of the themes that we'll be looking at too. Because I think that is the
Well,
path going forward
I
in
think what I
life.
meant by banking it is like,
Right.
do you remember when we used to have cell those, and if you didn't use all your minutes,
Yeah,
up,
banking your minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
you could carry them over. It was
Mhm.
still, it was like you took the
Well,
whole amount, but you put some
yes,
in the
Yeah.
bank
Yeah.
and
Alan.
some in a different bank.
Yeah.
It would be
Yes.
the
Well,
same principle.
this is not going to be like what many other like the conspiracy theorists say. If you don't use it, you lose it. That's not what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you get the $4,000. It comes to you. You make the choices about how you want to spend it. That is
Yeah.
all.
Exactly.
And would
I
you
mean,
have
I mean,
something
Alan,
on the
like you look at
profile?
our dental system.
We'll go into
I mean, I
that
don't know what it's
later
like
on,
in
Alan.
Ontario, but in British Columbia, for instance, $1,000 coverage over 2 years. Okay. Now, if you don't use it, it goes away.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't get rolled over saying, well, hey, I only used $50 of that $1,000 coverage, or say 75. So I used $75 of that $1,000 coverage over 2 years. People go, what? 2 years? Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
could use that in 1 year, right? If you have
Yeah.
some major stuff going on. But hey, guess what? You got to now skip a year, wait another time. But say you only. But anyway, long story short is, say you use $75 of that $1,000. No, like that $925 is not going to get carried over to like the next time when they roll it over. No, it starts at over.
You better
again.
be Iron Man for the
Yeah.
for the whole extra
You
year.
better have steel teeth. I mean, so that you just chomp down on something and you don't have to
Well,
worry.
a lot of people don't realize that if you can go and get bad teeth, you can go and get serious oral problems, which can turn to actual oral cancer,
Yeah.
which can actually kill you.
Yeah.
And that's where healthcare has been failing us.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I
Totally.
got a bad feeling, but I mean, like, I'm glad that they're gonna push through the adult aspect of the dental thing, but I think it's gonna be so many crumbs. Like, I just don't see it covering like implants, unless
Yeah.
unless they
I think
were
it'd be more
unless they
pervasive.
say, okay, um, because you're in this age group, you can actually like finance um,
Mm-hmm.
implants on a monthly system. But if they're only going to do what they did in the beginning, which is give, I think, what was it, $1,300 in phase one and
Oh
13
yeah. That's
in
not
phase
gonna.
two, I just don't see that helping. Like, I'm
Well,
missing some.
well,
I,
and
I have to get
it's
I
going to go
have to
to
get
87-year-olds
implants.
at first. Apparently, that's how it's for the first phase.
Oh,
It's going to
really?
get rolled out. Yeah, to
Yeah.
87-year-olds.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense. But anyways,
No,
we're coming
zero
to the
sense.
end of our program today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Let's
it's
finish
been-
it off with Neil and Brent
Yeah.
here.
Let's finish it off with some shortbread.
Yeah. Definitely. The shortbread. Yeah. Look.
No, what I was gonna say is tomorrow's show we have,
We have Mike Maurice coming on tomorrow.
and it's gonna be an early show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
7:45 BC time, and that's so it's 10:45 Ontario.
This is gonna be one of those times where I wish I lived in Ontario.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so I
yeah,
could
me
sleep.
too, yeah.
Just so I could sleep in.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Oh yeah. Oh, look
It's
at that.
it's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's ginger.
Oh yeah.
It's gingerbread shortbread.
Oh yeah. Hey,
So
look at the-
hey, let's
gingerbread man.
let's shake hands.
yeah, shake
Let's
hands.
shake hands.
You
My
can't
mom
catch
loved-
me. I'm the
used to love
gingerbread man,
ginger
right? Is
snaps.
that what they say?
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward
Yeah.
to tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
We'll have to wake up early for it, but yeah, it'll be Mike Maurice and now I've lost the
Oh, Jeremy.
yeah
Jeremy.
Jeffrey
oh, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Salisbury.
Yeah, Jeremy.
The name. Every once in a while I get a brain
Yeah,
fart.
yeah.
And, but yeah, it's Jeffrey Salisbury.
Yeah.
So that'll be a really good show.
Yeah, 7:45 BC time. That's so 10:45 Ontario time. And so I was thinking, oh well, what time do I need to leave the Lower Mainland? Because like, it varies every 2 hours. So
Yeah.
it's like 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And I thought, okay, I don't want to do 9 o'clock because now that's going to put me into Victoria, downtown, my home, by 12 o'clock midnight. Yeah, that's probably not going to
Yeah.
happen. And now what happens if, well, I'm sorry, folks, but we're having mechanical failure. I'm sorry. I'll be like, okay, but I'll be broadcasting live at the ferry terminal.
Put some tugs on the front of this boat and tow it.
I'll be like, get this boat over there now.
Get me to the chopper.
Get the CEO
Get me to the chopper.
to do it and drive it over.
Hasta lasagna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a tumor.
I'll get the rowboats out on the side. I'll paddle my way over. I'll swim.
I have a rule on the podcast. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
No eating on the podcast, except if it's shortbread.
It's shortbread and it's a Christmas cookie.
Is that like a caveat to the rule?
It's one caveat because I'm a producer, so no eating on the podcast except if it's shortbread. That's the exception.
You know what I just did? I just bit the
You know what? I
shortbread's
miss
head right off.
my mom's,
Oh, no.
and I haven't had them in years. I miss my mom's mincemeat pies.
Oh.
Those little ones
Oh,
she used to
mincemeat,
make.
yeah.
Mm.
Oh my God!
Walker's
It's
shortbread.
an English thing, and not a lot of people like the mincemeat pie. But
and
if
then
you get the pastry just
I
right,
wash it
oh.
down with the Tim Hortons coffee, which is probably cold right now.
I think I'd actually rather get.
Well,
a
I'm gonna
McDonald's
break
coffee
the rule and
'cause-
have a ginger shoot.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
There you are. Yeah. Yeah.
Now everybody's taking liberties now.
I'll say, hey.
I prefer the McDonald's coffee now. It's actually the old Timmy's coffee.
You know, we actually did our last segment at McDonald's.
The new Tim Hortons coffee is horrible. I mean,
yeah,
that's like
we're doing a
that's right
comparison
out
of
of
it.
Seinfeld with the instant coffee.
I
you know,
found
the
Alan,
first-
I found that their coffee, McDonald's coffee, was a lot smoother. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Well,
Tim Hortons, I don't know what's going
Neil,
on. Like their coffee lately
Okay,
has been
but-
really acidic.
Back in the day before Burger King bought McDonald's, our coffee was the coffee we had, and everybody loved it. And Canadian and Tim Hortons was completely Canadian. When Burger King bought it, they lost the contract to their coffee brand that
RGI,
they had,
isn't it RGI? I think isn't it?
and
RGI
whatever it
or
was,
something.
and McDonald's picked up that contract. Now, McDonald's does not offer, as far as I know, like they've given me this. What do you mean dark roast? Look, so I either go to McDonald's if I'm in a rush because it's downtown and I can grab one, and we even
I'm
have a
selective of
takeout
what I eat
window,
at McDonald's, so
or I go to or I go to the coffee house company, which is downtown. Because I'm not spending that $2 on that
Oh.
sludge that McDonald's.
No.
I call it Frappuccino. It was in fabric chino.
Yeah.
Alan,
it tastes
the only thing that
It tastes like someone poured my coffee on carpet and then squeezed it out in a cup.
the only thing I
Sure.
found at McDonald's, Ellen, was the small coffee. It was very small. They've now reduced the size of their small cups down extremely.
Shrinkflation.
Call it like little sippy cups, right? And we're joking
Yeah.
about that. But then you see, but
What is
here,
this,
you
a
mean, as
shot?
an example, like this is a Tim Hortons extra large coffee, right? The coffee's now cold inside, so I probably won't even drink it. But I mean, McDonald's extra large is actually the same size as Tim Hortons. I know John took us on the way here. He says, coffee? And then, of course, he always bugs Sonia. He says, coffee? She says, no, I'm good. No. I said, are you feeling okay? I said, Sonia, because you want coffee. You're the Java queen. Okay, I'll get a cup of coffee. So she didn't get the large one, and I got the super large one. Oh, okay. Well, what's going on here? But the thing is
No,
that
make
the extra large, it actually seems like you're actually getting now a good cup of coffee, right? And yeah.
I'm a coffeetorian. I need my coffee. I tell you,
I'm a
I
coffee
drink
and
it for the
connoisseur.
safety of others. I drink coffee for the safety of others.
That's
Well,
right.
Yeah.
The best brand of coffee that I've actually had is called Lavazza, and it's an Italian brand, and it's very smooth. And it's very smooth, and it's expensive, but it's a little more expensive, but it actually tastes quite good. I mean, but when
That's
it comes,
the brand.
Oh, Kicking
That's the
Horse
brand,
coffee.
uh,
I was just thinking about that. Oh, yeah, it's my favorite. That is.
There you go.
Yes.
We had the Three
Kicking
Sisters
Horse.
coffee this morning. It was brewed for us over at John's dad's house, and he brewed the Three Sisters coffee.
Yeah, I buy the Kicking Horse brand,
Yeah.
and I buy it in bean form, and then I have it ground at the grocery store to course, because I use a French press,
Me
Oh.
too.
and you have to have coarse ground coffee.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's too
One of-
fine, it will just come through the
One
through
of my
the
one of my neighbors in our building, before we left, actually, like literally like a couple hours before we left to the mainland, I saw the neighbor and she says, "Oh, Merry Christmas." I said, "Oh, Merry Christmas." She had a big bag and she says, "Oh, I got something for you. You like coffee?" I go, "Oh, yeah."
Duh.
She says, "Oh."
There's
So
a
she
bear
pulls,
shit in
she
the
pulls
woods.
so she pulls a big bag out of Kicking Horse coffee, and right on the bottom it said, and you know, no language swear jar. It says kick ass. Kick
Yeah.
ass coffee.
Yeah.
That was their kick ass brand, right? They got 3 sisters. They got a whole bunch of them.
Mine is the
But it was whole
dark roast
beans. It
half
was the
ass.
whole beans. So I'm going, oh, that means I'm gonna have to buy a
Grinder.
grinder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's the half ass.
Oh.
Well,
Okay.
if you have a blender,
Oh.
you can actually blend the beans. Use your blender for the beans as well.
Oh.
You know, I mean, it's a
Basically
bit,
the same thing, really.
Yeah.
it's
I
a bit.
mean,
It just takes a bit longer, but it will work.
I
well,
like
but anyways-
chocolate covered coffee beans too.
Oh.
And we're-
Oh.
we're-
Oh. Well. That'd be
We're running out of.
Anyway,
we're running
we-
out of
we-
time.
Yeah. We
We're
better.
running out of overtime,
We
folks.
got a blast.
Yeah. But I want to thank you, of everyone coming on here today, Alan and MJ, and it's been an awesome pleasure broadcasting
Maybe we
live
could
at
do a
Neil's
part
place
2
today
of,
too, and everyone
may-
tuning in today. And stay tuned for tomorrow's.
And the
episode.
audio worked.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
and now we know next time.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. Is MP Mike Maurice from Kitchener, Ontario, or
Yep.
Kitchener Centre, Ontario. Still Kitchener, Ontario. And he's going to be on at 7:45 BC time, that's Pacific Standard Time. Pretty early morning start, but it's going to be great. 10:45 Eastern Time, and looking forward to that. Our next show after that, just for this week, will be on Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after Thursday's show, right now, it's open.
Probably a little bit of a hiatus.
I think a little bit of hiatus over the season. So if there's no shows on the 28th or 29th, well, we'll be broadcasting in the new year.
I still want to try to get somebody on for the 28th, 29th.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
working on it.
Maybe we can-
I'm working on
Yeah.
it.
Maybe
Anyway.
we can do
Neil's
a
working
second.
on it. Neil's working on it. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
Maybe we can do a second cerebral palsy, and we can get someone from the organization.
Well,
to,
you know, I did try, Ellen.
Yeah, what's the holidays? But maybe in the
yeah.
new year, like in
Yeah,
late
I did
January
try.
or whatever.
I reached out to the BC Association and Canadian, and nobody got back to me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we'll knock on that door
Yeah.
in the new year.
Yeah.
They may just
Bang
be
on that door.
unavailable.
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
All right,
folks.
everyone.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, MJ.
It's been a blast.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, exactly.